Well, what's going to happen is it's just like we hear, see, smell, become aware of something. We want the residents to come to us and we want to hear about it. And it's just like any rumor that we hear, any information that we receive, we're going to look into it if there's something that there's quality evidence behind it.
So do they come directly to you, or do they like go to the front desk and say, can I speak to a director?
Most of the time they go to the front desk and say, I'd like to speak to a director.
And then
or they send an anonymous email.
And that's when a desk attendant will either call you or you'll be in the back office and you'll, like a lot of times I'm in the back office and I'll overhear it and I'll be like, I'll peek my head out and go, I can talk to you in the back. And that's when you just take them in the back. And that's why it's important to be on property on the weekend, because a lot of this stuff comes up during the weekend when there aren't directors. And yes, Mama Law sometimes, most of the time is on property, Anna is most of the time on property, but that doesn't mean that you have to call them right away. See if you can take care of the situation. And if you're, you know, it's like if you have a question, it's better to ask the question than to give false information, but it's also better to see if you can answer the question rather than just pass it off to someone else.
And if you take them in the back office and you say, okay, give me a second, I need to call someone to check on this information. You guys can call me, we can talk through it. If it's something where it's too in-depth that we can't, and there's too many moving parts that are going to need to be involved in the situation, I'll say let them know that we'll begin to work on it, but until we have all directors in the room or at work, that we can't come to a conclusion just yet, but we can. This is what we can do now, and we'll begin on it. Because a lot of times we need parents to wait, we need residents to wait, and especially parents will be like, I want this done now, and they think that we have nothing else to do but to cater to them. And yes, we want to help and we want to respond to them quickly.
And that's why listening is so important, because a lot of the times they just want to be heard. They want to make sure that their point is getting across. And by interrupting them or chiming in, it's just going to piss them off more. And that's why you just want to listen to them, make sure they understand that you have their residents' best interests at heart. And once you get that point across to them, they are more at ease with knowing, okay, I don't need, like I've had parents call me and go, do I need to drive down right now? And that's one thing you don't want. You don't want to have to inconvenience the customer. You're serving the customer. You want the best customer service, and by doing that, sometimes that means you have to listen. Sometimes that means you have to be in the office for 5 hours listening to the same thing over and over again, and you're almost going like, okay, cut me a break and just shut up. But talking about it helps them, and it's going to help the situation. So
I mean, I had a mother on the phone. I let her vent. I thought she was done. I went to say something. I didn't even complete 3 words, and she started again. And I did that literally 10 times, and I'm one of those people who hates being interrupted. That's like one of my pet peeves. So they're gonna push your buttons, they're gonna test your patience, and after 45 minutes, we finally got on the same page. I mean, she wanted to talk to Dave, she wanted to talk to Ben, and I was like, there's no need to go that way. And a lot of times I'll ask for that. You can say, they're gonna tell you the same exact thing, especially if, let's say Erica has a phone conversation with a parent and she's already spoke to me beforehand, and that parent is not happy with what Erica's saying. Erica can say, my supervisor is going to tell you the same exact thing because
that's our policy.
We discussed this. Yeah. This is our policy. And sometimes they just want to go to the very next person. And sometimes, what?
Do you let them?
Yes. I mean, if you cannot get them calmed down and cannot get them on your side, it's something where you'll notice there's going to be that point in the conversation where it's just going to turn, and you're going to have their attention, and they're going to start listening to you, and they're going to start letting you talk. And that's when they realize that you're there to help them and you care about the student. Sometimes you have to repeat yourself. I mean, today I said, I just want talk to your son. I want to hear his side of the story. I had to say that 5 times before she finally got it. But if they aren't listening, they aren't letting you talk, and they are just heating up, and if their anger escalates, that's when you say, okay, I will pass you on to my director. I'll let you know, let me see where they are. And that's easier during the day, during the week. If it's on the weekend, you can say, I'm the director on duty right now. All pro staff is not working. They're back on Monday. Are you ready? Are you okay with waiting till Monday? Or can I explain it a different way, from a different angle? And a lot of it is we're all saying the same thing. It's just how each individual presents it a little different. It's cute. So.
And that's why a lot of 80% of this stuff will be dealt with on the weekend, because all of this stuff on the weekday will be dealt with pro staff. So, and be smart. Like, it's okay to, I know it sucks to bug people, but bug people. Like, I had a situation at the Villas. I made Greg and Shane sit outside the door for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, because I didn't feel safe. And it was one of those things where they couldn't take over the situation, but I didn't want to be, I didn't, like, if they took over the situation, they would have been murdered or something. But and it literally was just this circular effect. Like, this chick was just losing her noggin, and you just, I had to just sit in her room. I felt like a little schoolgirl. I just had to sit in her room and listen to her, and she was doing these weird things. She was calling her parents. Her parents wouldn't talk to me. They would only talk to her, and then she would relay that information back. I had to go outside the suite sometimes just to laugh, because I had so much, like even now, like, thinking about it, it brings these emotions, and that's when you have to be smart. I could have been stubborn. I could have been, you know, like, thinking that I was, like, almighty and not had them wait outside. But I don't think the situation would have been the same if I didn't.
You scared that she was going to do something to you?
Yeah, like, she was very violent, very, like, she had these, like, weird tantrums, and it was, they kind of kept me sane so that I could be sane while I was in there. And so, like, that's why you do have each other, and I know I bring that up a lot, but, like, we're a family, and our position is so different than everyone else's position. It's not admin, it's not RA, it's RD, and that's why we have a specific title. And so, like, our duty requirements don't really go hand in hand with anybody else's, and that's why we have to be each other's support, and that's why we have to be able to know this information. And if we don't know it, ask someone. And that's why there are so many of us, because we can ask each other.
Kind of random. Is it the same next year? It's just gonna be 5 weeks rotation, each one is a week, or is it for the phone?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes.
And I'm expecting you guys to have a ton, and even with, and Erica's expecting you guys to have a ton of questions, and we're expecting a ton of phone calls the first 3 months. If we don't, that's so, we're going to say what's wrong, because you should have questions. Every situation you enter, no matter how much we train you and how well, you are not going to be prepared. Your best learning experiences is going to be in those situations. You're going to approach every phone call. You'll start out one way. You'll say, well, this worked last time. Let me try this now. And you're going to have to read the situation that you're in and adapt that way. Sometimes you have to be a little more stern. Sometimes you have to talk extremely calm, like you're a kindergarten teacher. You're really going to have to
you'll
feel
know
out the situation.
You'll know when that situation comes up. Like, you guys are ahead of the game. We didn't do any training at all.
I don't think we were hired.
We weren't even hired at this point. We were hired at pass down. And
good job.
Our training was, here's crew, do what you do,
one day
and one day out of the week we'll talk about the RD position, which ends up not really talking about the RD position at all. And yeah, so you guys are ahead of the game, and I'm gonna have questions. I'm gonna have, like, I feel like I'm not really a step ahead of you guys. I know I am, just from my experience being in the RD position already, but I'm on this journey with you too.
And I still ask Dave a lot of questions. I mean, I'm like, okay, I got it, we're good. And then something comes up and I'll say, okay, Dave, haven't experienced this one yet. I need to learn. Yeah. So everything is different. We're all asking questions and we're all talking through things. I mean, I'm someone who I will call Dave just to talk through something with Dave or with Ben or Myra. And Ben and Dave were away in Vegas, so I talked through something with Wendy. And it just helps me think much better and come to a conclusion. And it's smart to use other people and to bounce ideas off and get opinions. And we're a support system, and you have to.
Yeah, like I'll call Greg and be like, what do I do with this situation? Should I do this, this? Oh, I should do this. Yeah, right? Okay. Like, he doesn't really have to say anything. I just have to say it.
It's an individualized position, but you are a cohesive team at the same time. Like, you can't, there's this balance that you're feeling out. Because if you try to hold all that in by yourself, and you feel like you can't show emotion,
you'll have breakdowns.
You will. You gotta just.
And it happens.
You have to use the help of other people.
It happens.
And that's fine.
Oh, because you were saying we were going to have the most questions the first 3 months. Is it going to be that we're also getting the most questions asked to us the first 3 months?
Exactly. Yes. As well.
All the RAs will be looking to you. So if they have one question, they go right to you. And the duty